one was that? Is the court reporter ready? Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. My name is Matt Pianka. I'm the chair of the zoning hearing board. And with me tonight is Mr. Claude Phipps. It seems we're missing Miss Anna Blanca and Mr. James Hobbs, our alternate, who might, we're not sure, he might come as the night progresses. Before we begin, just so everybody knows, if there is a split decision, that is a denial. So if anybody would like a continuance or wants to wait until Mr. Hobbs might show up, I think Ms. Bianca had a medical absence tonight. And that's completely up to them. But other than that, I'm going to move forward on the night. So would anybody like to take a continuance right now? None, we're going to proceed forward. We have Mr. Jacob Owen here tonight from the city's planning department and Mr. Neil Grover from the city solicitor's office, along with Mr. O'Connor as our solicitor. Mr. Hobbs is here. Perfect. All right, good. All I did was do an introduction. So as soon as you're ready, sir, I'll make a motion. Add you to the active board tonight. I knew if I stalled long enough. No split decision. As we go on, I do want to explain there is a court reporter here tonight. That's because the zoning hearing board is more formal than the planning commission. Court reporter is making a transcript in the event of an appeal to the Court of Common Pleas. The zoning hearing board is like a court of law. The zoning hearing board's decisions must be based on fact and law, not on the popularity or unpopularity of the project or what seems to the board to be a good or bad project. In other words, the applicant must meet a legal burden of proof that proves the elements of a variance or special exception. The law is the city's zoning code and the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. Anybody in the audience and everyone who resides or owns property close to a subject property tonight and has something legally relevant to say will have an opportunity to speak. Audience must speak one at a time and must not interrupt the testimony of a applicant tonight. First, I'd like to make a motion to add Mr. Hobbs to the board tonight. Seconded by Mr. Phipps. All in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Hobbs, welcome tonight. Were there any cases to be continued from the email list?
Yes, so the legal representative for 1331 Schuylkill Street reached out to me today that their client would like to formally withdraw their request from the agenda. So they did provide that in writing, which was provided to the zoning hearing board solicitor.
That was case number 2517.
Correct.
And I'm going to start by calling 2512 here. That's the variance application for 1327 Howard Street. Not seeing them, we will do one of the new businesses before we go back to that. Then I will call 2519. It's a variance and special exception application for 1400 Market Street, zoned residential medium density, filed by Mr. Howard Drayton to establish a restaurant use on site and request relief from off-street parking requirements. Solicitor, please read in the record the documents that are on the city's file.
For B1, it's proof of publication on the Patriot News, June 5 and June 12, 2022. B2 is a letter dated June 6, 2022, sent from the Deputy Planning Director, Jacob Bowen, to the applicant notifying of the hearing tonight. B3 is the hearing notice posting on the property. B4 is the applicant's notification letter and certificate of mailing to the required neighbors. B5 is the application. B6 was a photo of the lot that was a one-page photo. B7, I'm accepting that was a plan document for that. B8, Tax Claim Bureau deed dated April 19, 2019, between the Tax Claim Bureau as trustee for the grantor and Howard Drayton. B9 is the Planning Bureau case report, and B10, City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. Those are the exhibits for the application 519.
Thank you. Will the zoning administrator, Jacob, will you please raise your right hand? I'm going to swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you please briefly summarize the case and the issues and what the city's position is on the case?
So the applicant is proposing to establish a restaurant use on site, which requires zoning hearing board approval of a variance application per section 7-305.7 of the zoning code, and the request for relief from the off-street parking requirements per section 7-325.6 of the zoning code. So this variance request is actually do a food trailer on a vacant lot with the location of 14th Street and Market Street. This lot's currently composed of just asphalt millings, been vacant for a large number of years. So at the planning commission discussion was a bit brief for this. Some of the discussion mostly involved the hours of operation the applicant intended to do, and pretty much parking wasn't too much of a concern here. So at the planning commission, they recommended approval with the following conditions. Condition 1, the applicant will remove the asphalt millings from the side and rear setback areas to bring the property into compliance of the impervious surface regulation. Condition 2, the applicant will keep the outside of the restaurant free of debris by providing refuse containers near the front of the property during operating hours for patrons. Condition 3, the applicant will coordinate with the Department of Public Works regarding appropriate location and access for refuse containers. Condition 4, the applicant will provide some type of permeable landscaping, including a plant screening within the setback areas in order to address any possible runoff issues and to improve the general aesthetics of the property. Condition 5, to reduce noise impacts, hours of operation will be limited to 11 p.m., while the proposed use requires a generator for electrical services. Hours of operation may be extended upon utility connection to electrical services per the health officer's determination. Condition 6, no other vehicles shall be stored on site other than the proposed food cart and food trailer. The Planning Commission recommended approval for the following reasons. The business location would attract customers from several nearby businesses, as well as surrounding residents during their traditional business hours, which would enhance economic development in the area and bring activity and investment to a formerly vacant and blighted lot. Reason 2, the proposed business would encourage the maintenance of a vacant lot while serving as a productive use for the city.
Thank you. If the applicant could please state his full name, his residential address, and his business title if it's relevant to this application.
Is where the lot is located.
Your address.
728 Fair Street.
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
If you could please just tell us a little bit about this project going forward.
Okay. So I work for the city of Harrisburg. I do enforcement technician for sanitation. I've received many calls on this lot to remove debris, blight, dumping, things of that nature. So when it came available, purchased, I didn't hesitate to purchase. It's in a good area, good walking distance. It's right there on the bus line, at the beginning of a commercial area. I actually used to get my hair cut when the last time the building was erected when I was a child. So it's a good neighborhood, and also it's good just to keep the blight down and maintain the property.
Are you good with the recommendations or the conditions put on by the planning commission?
Yes, I am.
And I'm going to open it up to questions from my fellow board members. Don't forget to use your microphone for the court reporter. Claude, you want to?
Can you hear me? Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Drayton. I had some questions. On that corner across, there's already a restaurant, chicken restaurant.
Mhm.
And on the opposite side, there's a Jamaican restaurant, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, they're permanent restaurants. The lot, and thank you for cleaning that lot up. When we do our twice a year cleanup, we had to hit that lot. Question I raise is that how are you going to manage stormwater runoff? That 14th Street, 14th and Market floods after every heavy rain.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm just looking at that lot and how far back you would be on that lot.
Mhm.
How do you plan to address that?
So working with Public Works, again, been there going on about 6.5 years. And in that corner, in fact, we do have to go out and remove debris. A lot of debris clogs it up. Being the angle that it's at and the slant that it's at, it doesn't really get up on to the sidewalk or the lot. So I'm not really too worried about it. I see Miller Pipeline has some markings there. So I guess the impact of Harrisburg money is going to go to fixing what you just talked about. They already did the one in the middle of Market Street, which helps the flow a little better. So that may relieve what you're speaking about, but that's not really a concern. Public Works come out, they unclog it, and it doesn't really rise up onto 1400 Market Street.
And my second question is the activity in that area. Sometimes that area has a sizable police presence.
Yeah.
But I'm going to probably talk straight about this. And, there's been sizable amount of reports from the chicken restaurant that's there and the after hours activity. What would be your hours for your business?
So we proposed 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. But because of the noise that the generator makes,
AM or PM? 6 a.m. to
2 to 3 a.m. 6 a.m. to 3 a.m.
your 21 hours operation.
Correct. What we doing? Yeah, it was cut down to 11 because the generator is a little loud. I mean, even though you can get a noise reduced generator, we do want to do electric in the near future, which the health inspector said we can have extended hours as long as we have utility to the lot, cut down on the noise. I will have security. I will have security, and the police presence is definitely something that we encourage.
I think there's a camera on that corner, HPD camera.
Yeah.
Last question, I always ask this out of all the applicants. Have you polled any of the people, any of the residents in the area? What's their take on this?
Well, I had to, that was one of the stipulations of the application. A few of the, one or two, a property owner on 14th and Regina, which is 100 feet, is what we had to do as far as the correspondence is concerned. And then Capal's, the Jamaican restaurant that's across the street, they contacted me and encouraged me, asked me, was there anything they could do? Could they come down, speak, or anything of that nature? I told them that wasn't necessary, but thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bowden, I have one question, it's a comment for you. The information I got back from the planning bureau said this was originally denied. You said it's accepted.
For the business itself, yes, because they had submitted, I believe it was a mercantile permit, and it was denied because it didn't conform with the zoning. So that's why they're here.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hobbs?
Yes, Mr. Drayton. Can you just give a little bit more detail about the operation itself in terms of what type of restaurant? It was going to be a trailer, not a permanent building. Can you just give a little bit more summary, I guess, about that?
Yeah, so my sister, she's She's hack culinary. I have my degree, my legal degree from hack. I'm also a realtor as well. 2009 with Berkshire, Hathaway right now. And so understanding the wave that's coming through the Allison Hill area, it made sense to purchase this property. I've also been paying attention to it and really seeing that no one was really upkeeping. And then, so as far as the food is concerned, my sister, again, she's gonna have full reign of as far as what we cook, what we bring to the table. We're gonna try, I don't think there's a competition clause, but we're gonna try just to be different and not bring cuisine that's already in the neighborhood. And then, so yeah, that's what we intend. Not really showing cuisine as of right now.
And then just to reiterate, so that the hours of operation would be then from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Yes, until we get utility to the lot itself. Once we hook the electric up, then the health officer says she will be on board to extend it to 3
Okay, so we'll be at 3 a.m.
at some point in the near future once we get electric to the property.
I would note, like the 3 a.m., I don't know if the health officer, at least to my knowledge, has given approval for that. It's more at her discretion. So I don't know if she would be able to approve to 3. That's something that would to be determined. That's not verified unless the applicant had a direct discussion with the health officer on that.
So is there any, I guess after this point, then, is there any party in specific that has to approve?
Yes, so the applicant will have to undergo the health inspection, and part of that process is where those hours would be determined.
Okay, so it would have to be another, okay. And just, I guess, Jacob, for just clarity, I know it's a variance, special exception. So you explain
Yeah, so the variance is for the restaurant use, even though it's not a brick and mortar establishment, because they're doing the use on a lot in the RM district, that necessitates a variance. Then the special exception is actually because it's in the RM district, there's a parking requirement. So that requirement is typically based on the square footage of a restaurant. That gets kind of hard with a food trailer. So we interpret that as essentially it's per employee. We're not going to base on the square footage since it's going to be under 200 square feet. So that's why there's that requirement for we determined to be approximately 3 employees. That's what that's based on. That's what the special exception is for that parking.
And so it's just to not have any parking requirement period.
Yes, because there is no parking on site. So they're going to be utilizing the street.
Can I clarify a little? Are we interchanging food truck and food trailer? Is it going to be a food truck? Is it going to be just a trailer, like a hot dog cart? Or is there a difference?
It's a trailer, we pull it, leave it on site.
Okay.
Versus a truck.
Okay.
Drive, so it'd be trailer.
So same size, a little more than like the hot dog cart down on Second and Pine, or around the same, or what are we? I'm just trying to envision.
Yeah, it's not as small as a food, as a hot dog truck,
Okay.
but you said Second and Pine, I think right near the old bank. Is that what you?
Yeah.
So it's around, it's about that size.
Okay. His is a little larger than like a hot dog cart.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right. So it's a mobile, okay. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, those are no questions I have. Thank you.
Okay.
When you purchased the lot, was it already vacant?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe it's been vacant for like the last 23 years or something. Of that
Okay.
nature.
All right. And do you know about what the dimensions are?
62 length, 33 width.
Okay. That'll work. And you said as of right now, there's no utilities to that lot?
No.
And maybe Neil or Jacob could answer this. OD's, and there's a taco truck at 15th and Market. OD's is a fish house restaurant. That's in the RM district right now, but they would have been grandfathered into the last change. Is that?
That's been there forever.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's all the questions I have at the moment. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak? I'll start with my right. Is there anyone in the neighborhood? Anyone in the center? And there's no one on the left. I'm going to take a moment to recess to talk legalities on variances, and special exceptions with our attorneys. We're going to go out the hall and we'll be right back. Okay, back into session here. Mr. Hobbs, you had some more questions?
Yes, one more question, Mr. Drayton. So, part of this application process and what we have to evaluate as part of the application is basically the hardship of use of this, in this case, this lot based off the current zoning, right, which is the residential medium. So can you explain, or do you have any insight on any hardships based off of the current use that is allowed for this property versus, what you're planning to do?
I think that, jump in, that property was once residential, a house. So, if you say, well, if I'm not gonna put a food truck in it, but I own it, how, would it be difficult for you to basically erect a single family dwelling there? Would the cost be prohibitive based off the current market?
Sure how difficult or not it would be. I didn't really look into that. When I originally bought the property, like I was saying to Mr. Jacob here, Dauphin County has it listed as commercial. So I thought that I was going to be able to just hit the ground running, right? But that's not the case. And then as far as like I said, I used to get my hair cut there, so I guess it was commercial on the bottom and residential on the top. At this time, I'm not financially able to do those type of, at least right now.
Yeah, and what you mentioned about when you look at the property records online, that's a common issue that we discussed here, is that people look at the data from, or the field that's filled out from the county, and it marks it as one way, but it doesn't necessarily correlate with the city's classification. So we understand that it causes some confusion.
You aware right now how high building costs are?
Had coming.
Yeah.
You just see all the signs for it. And then with the past COVID and the supply chain, things are really through the roof right now. On all products are really up right now. So yes, I am aware, and it really would have to be a hardship to try to erect a building at this time with the conditions of the market.
The city would stipulate that it's a hardship for an undeveloped lot that's been vacant for 23 years in a residential area with no utility hookups. It would be prohibitive financially to use the lot as 23 years of non-use have determined.
I'd like to make a motion to approve with the conditions set forth in the planning commission as a resolution to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Hobbs. All in favor of approving the motion? Aye. Motion passes 3-0. So, thank you.
Sure.
Going back to old business, is anyone here from 2512, the variance application for 1327 Howard Street? If not, will the solicitor please read these in the records? Read this case into the record, please.
The exhibits or for B1, proof of publication in Patriot News, March 6, 2022, and March 13, 2022. B2 is letter dated May 9th, 2022, sent from Deputy Planning Director Jacob Bowen to the applicant notifying of hearing. B3 is a hearing notice posting on the property. B4, applicant's notification letter and certificate of mailing to required neighbors. B5 was the application. B6 was 5 photos, 5 pages. B7 is quitclaim deed dated May 11, 2012. William Dunbar, also known as William Dunbar, and Sabrina Dunbar's wife to Lamont Palmer. B8, Planning Bureau case report. B9, City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. Then there was A1, A2, and A3. They were all 3 separate requests for continuances of prior hearings, the prior 3 hearings, not tonight. So those are the exhibits, or as they letter or a request for a continuance of tonight's decision. The applicant would have the burden of coming in front of you to present the evidence that would then sides.
Can you repeat, you said there was not another letter received for,
And I'll note the applicant did reach out to me about last week, looking to possibly continue. I informed the applicant that they can request a continuance, provided the same language to be provided for the request. I also advised the applicant that the number of continuances I recommended, perhaps they have the case heard. The applicant did not formally request to have the case continued, though, after providing the language.
What was the outcome of the planning commission meeting?
I recommended denial.
Correct.
This was filed on behalf of Mr. Lamont Palmer. Seeing that Mr. Lamont Palmer is not here or representative, I'm going to make a motion to deny the application. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Phipps.
Yeah, let me introduce- This is his third bite of the apple.
For this
At least in front
particular,
of me.
Right, regardless.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
all in favor of denial. Single by saying aye. It was seconded. There's a motion on the floor for denial. All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Motion carries. We're going to call 2520. This is a special exception application for 2422 and 2430 Raleigh Street, zoned residential medium density, filed by the Church of God and Saints of Christ to establish a place of worship use on site and request relief from the off-street parking requirement. The solicitor, please read into record the documents that are in the city's file.
B1 is the proof of publication in Patriot News, June 5 and June 12, 2022. B2 is letter dated June 6, 2022, sent from Deputy Planning Director Jacob Bowen to the applicant notifying of the hearing. B3 is the hearing notice posting on the property. The notice was dated and posted May 24, 2022, advising of tonight's hearing. B4, applicant's notification letter and certificate of mailing to required neighbors. B5 is the application. B6 is 33 photographs on same amount of pages. B7 is the plans, there are 8 pages of plans. B8 is a deed dated October 20, 2021 between General Electric Service Company, Inc. and the Church of God and Saints of Christ. B9 is the Planning Bureau case report, and B10 is the City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. So, Mr. Chairman, those are the exhibits B1.
Thank you. All right. Jacob, floor is yours.
so the applicant is proposing to establish a place of worship use and per section 7-305.7 of the zoning code. A special exception approvals are required for the proposed use in the RM district and relief from the off-street parking requirements outlined in section 7-327.6 of the zoning code. So this property involves 2422 and 2430 Riley Street. They have a combined lot area of 0.12 acres. They feature 2 connecting buildings, one two-story masonry structure totaling 4,640 square feet. This was constructed in 1965. And then the other 2-story masonry structure totaling 3,668 square feet, which was constructed in 1930. So these properties are bounded by 2417, 2419, and 2425 Ellerslie Street to the north, Johnson Street to the east, Raleigh Street to the south, and the property at 711 South 24th Street to the west. So the Planning Bureau discussion, there was some nearby neighbors that were a bit concerned about some of where pedestrians will be walking in relation to their house. There are also some concerns related to parking along Ellerslie Street, which is to the north of the property. That was sort of the main concerns from the public and the Planning Commission that were discussed. So the Planning Commission recommended the zoning hearing board approve the request with the following conditions. All on authorized business activities operating on site shall cease operations prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the proposed use. Condition 2, the applicant shall allow the Codes Bureau to perform a comprehensive inspection and receive approval for all necessary city permits prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy. Condition 3, the applicant will coordinate with the Department of Public Works to ensure that the accounts billing is updated to reflect reflective new use. Condition 4, any proposed accessory parking lot developed would need to be reviewed and approved by the Planning Bureau. So the Planning Commission recommended approval for the following reasons. Reason 1, the proposal will establish a use in a property that is configured for commercial uses and reactivate a partially vacant building while providing a public good through offering community services to the general public. Reason 2, impacts from the proposed business, including traffic generation of use from the on-street parking, will be limited due to the small congregation size, infrequent times of operation, and the availability of parking along Ellerside Street. Also, I'd like to note, condition 4 was actually added during discussion of potentially using the rear property along Ellerside Street, potentially as a parking lot, which is not part of this proposal. But that was just kind of looked into down the line potentially. If they were to develop that, it would have to be in conformance with all our code and zoning regulations. So that was also brought up at the meeting.
Thank you. Could each applicant please state your name, your residential address, and your business title if relevant to the.
Congregant and treasurer of the trustee board of the Church of God of Jesus Christ.
Is that all?
See the yellow or the. I mean, that was clear, but I just wanted to share.
Edith Duncan, 2311 Green Street. I'm the chairman of the trustee board.
Marshall, 1231 Dalton Road, Parkville, Maryland, 21224, and I am the pastor of the congregation.
You want to tell us a little bit about the building and your plans for it and why here? I guess.
We are looking to
If you could get a little closer. Yeah, that's good.
We are looking to establish a house of worship. Our congregation is currently homeless. We've been so for.
You can come over here, have a seat. Yeah.
I'm used to this with my 4 children. But we are a congregation and we're currently homeless. We used to reside at 1500 North 5th Street, and the adjacent property 1502 buckled during a storm. It was vacant and it buckled during the storm, and it caused the damage on 1500. And so 1500 was condemned along with that property. So we've been a homeless congregation for about 1.5 years now. We're looking to establish a new place of worship. And we've been searching since losing that building for different churches throughout Harrisburg, which have not been within our budget. Either they're 100 or something years old, and we would need to redo the entire electrical system. And when we came across this property, same situation, we researched it, and it was listed as commercial. And so we began negotiating with the owner, and the price was within our budget. And so we acquired the property with the hopes and plans to be able to convert it to a house of worship. And that's what we're looking to do at this particular property, a house of worship and everything that is associated with the house of worship.
About how large is your congregation?
Our consistent members are about 20 to 24 weekly.
Mr. Hobbs. Your turn.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I know that the part of this is about, I believe there would be from parking, is that correct? Yeah. So has there been any, I guess, evaluation of potential ways to create parking? Like, is there any options available to create parking?
The option that we considered was to build the vacant lot to convert that to parking. But we go through there pretty regular on Saturdays, which is the day that we worship. We practice Judaism. So when we go through there, the street is literally vacant. There's probably about 2 cars parked in the block. And I literally went through there this past Saturday to kind of see if anything's changed. And it's been the same since we began negotiations with the seller, which began in March of 2021. So it's been probably about 15 months of going through that street, and nothing in the parking situation has changed. There's probably about 2 to 3 cars parked on that block. And I've gone through there. Our worship is typically from 9 to about 12:30. And I've gone through that street during these different times, including this weekend. I went through at 5:30 just to see if everybody just happened to be out shopping, and then they were back home, and it was literally just as empty as it's always been.
Thank you for coming down tonight. I want to expand on that, that street a little bit.
Yes, sir.
I actually know that area. So you said when you come through that street, is it on Ellerslie Street or you're coming through Raleigh?
The main entrance to the building is on Raleigh,
Street.
as is, with no adjustments to the construction. All of the entrances are on Raleigh Street, as is right now.
My second question, and I asked this of everyone, have you polled the neighbors surrounding the building?
We have.
And
Yes, sir. We have polled the neighbors. There were 2 young ladies that joined us in our meeting early in June, and they only had a couple concerns. One was the off-street parking, and she was basically saying because during the when she goes grocery shopping and things, it's easier for her to park on Ellerslie Street and bring her groceries in the back door. And the other one, her concern with the parking is that her mother resides in a home on Ellerslie Street, but they have a 2-car driveway. And she was just wondering, like, when her daughter comes over, if we would be taking up any space in front of her home. And I assured her that we would not park in front of her home, that she would be okay. And the last concern was that one of the neighbors' grandson uses the lot for their lacrosse practice. And so we
no, I guess so.
So
I go across the street to the old Ellerslie estate. It's a lot bigger.
So if approved and granted the off-street parking waiver, then we don't have any immediate plans for that lot. We actually share the landscaping with the neighbors. We alternate. They'll take care of it for us, and then we'll take care of it. So we have a decent, I think, a good relationship with the neighbors. And those were the only concerns that came up. We spoke with those 2 young ladies immediately after the meeting and assured them that, her son's lacrosse wouldn't be interrupted and her daughter's parking wouldn't be interrupted. That's only a consideration if we were not able to have our members park on the street, which is probably only about 6 cars tops. Most of the time it's 4 to 5 vehicles.
I was going to ask what the practice of Judaism, most of your membership walk. Is that?
No, so we don't practice.
Oh, okay.
What is the version of Judaism? It's not Hasidic. Well, pretty much Hasidic. We don't practice Hasidic Judaism. Most of our members are actually experienced citizens, so they can walk, but for them to walk for worship would be would be a lot on them. I mean, we have members from age 94 down to in their 50s. Most of our members are 60s and older.
The reason why I asked that question is that Raleigh Street's I call it the halfway alley between Ellerslie and Dairy Street.
Yes.
And facing the church, the front of the church would be garages. There's a lot of garages up and down there, and that, I don't know how the neighbors would react if you said you use that. If Raleigh Street is for parking, but you're going to use the lot, and I think on Ellerslie Street, the lot sits between an apartment complex
Correct.
and a residential home.
Correct.
So you said it's about 5 cars at max.
5, 6 cars max. Typically, it's only about 4 of us, 4 cars. You have my family and then their families. They actually carpool, they ride together. And so it's probably only about 4 cars max.
Next question, the business that's adjacent to your building, that was, I think it was an electrical supply, repair shop there and an auto shop. Jacob, maybe you can answer that. Those buildings are firewalled off. That's a cinder block. And the reason I'm saying is because you've got an auto repair store sitting right next to you. And with the chemicals and stuff that's possibly there, you buy a piece of property and somebody goes, oops, and repairing a car and your property's gone up in flame.
Yes, sir. So it is all cinder block and steel. And it's actually a state inspection center. And so he does automobile inspections, and there are no lifts in there. There are no chemicals. There's no machines for chemicals. I actually looked up the prior business on the EPA's website, and the amount of oil that they are required to house in the tube is literally minimal. It's probably a couple of gallons, and but it's just a state inspection spot. And the owner had not been operating as an engine repair company. He repaired electrical engine, from what I understand, and had not been operating that business for years. He actually been trying to sell the property for quite some time.
That's the only question. Thank you.
So, thank you.
Are you okay with the approval set forth by the planning?
We are, yes, sir.
Is there anyone from the audience? Or do you have anything to add? Anyone from the audience? Down on Woodbine, so you're a little bit out of the relevant area. With the testimony, I'm going to make a motion to approve with the conditions set forth by the Planning Commission's resolution for approval. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Phipps. All in favor? Aye. Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
With that, I'm going to bring up 2521, a variance and special exception application for 2100 North 3rd Street, zone residential medium density, filed by Jimmy Negron. Mr. Negron? To establish a 4-unit multifamily dwelling use on site and request relief from the off-street parking requirements, which require special exception, and to request relief from the density regulations regulating the property, which requires a variance.
Question. What is the, I guess, distance for, I guess my question is about if I have to recuse myself. I live on 3rd Street at 1928.
It's blocks away.
About 3 blocks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's blocks, I don't know what the distance is, but then again, we always say it's up.
Fair way to do it, they simply ask the applicant if they have an objection by disclosing the proximity of the.
One block. Oh, my two are here, and I think, Anna's. Just so for the precedent that's
Already
been
did
set so
say
far.
what the address was, so applicant is that he does live nearby, and usually, with that, sometimes they consider recusing themselves with, if they're nearby with a conflict of interest, but that'd be something up to you.
I have hearing aids and I need to hear from you.
James Hobbs explained that he lives at 1920
28.
North Third Street. Okay, and usually a board member, if they live near the property, they consider recusing themselves just to avoid any conflict of interest concerns. Now, is that something, though, are you okay with that? It's not, it's over a block, is a block and a half, is that? All right, the applicant advised that he doesn't have any issue with Mr. Hobbs hearing, considering, and participating in the decision of this case 2521. Thank you.
One thing. Then I'm going to ask the solicitor to please read the record of the documents that are on the city's file into the record.
B1 is proof of publication, Patriot News, June 5 and June 12, 2022. B2, letter dated June 6, 2022, sent from Deputy Planning Director Jacob Bowen to the applicant notifying of the hearing. B3, hearing notice posting on the property. B4, applicant's notification letter and certificate of mailing to required neighbors. B5 is the application. B6, 8 photographs over 3 pages. B7, plans, 9 pages. B8, deed dated December 11, 2003, between Wayward Viking Partners LLC and RTCY-PA LLC. B9 is Planning Bureau case report. B10, City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. So, Mr. Chairman, the exhibits, those are the exhibits B1 through 10.
Thank you. Jacob?
So the applicant is proposing to establish a 4-unit multifamily dwelling use on site and request relief from the off-street parking requirements, which require special exceptions, and to request relief from the density regulations in section 7-307.3 of the zoning code, which requires a variance. So this property at 2100 North 3rd Street is a 0.13 acre lot with a 3-story, 9,063 square foot brick structure, which was constructed circa 1910. The property is bounded by the property at 2104 North 3rd Street to the north, North 3rd Street to the east, McClay Street to the south, and the property at 252 McClay Street to the west. So this property was previously a funeral home for many decades, based on the actual funeral home that was relocated up the Linglestown Road. It was in operation there until 1973. So the property still contains configuration of that previous use. The Planning Bureau actually did conduct a site visit to view the interior of the building with the applicant to kind of assess the uniqueness of this building, also to determine if it were a commercial structure or residential in the past. So the Planning Commission, they recommended that the request be approved with the following conditions. Condition 1, the applicant shall allow the Codes Bureau to perform a comprehensive inspection and receive approval for all necessary city permits prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy and leasing any units. Condition 2, the applicant will reconfigure the proposed first floor layout of apartment 4 to exclude the use of the space for bedrooms, thus limiting the number of bedrooms for the subject unit to 10 bedrooms. So condition 2, very unique. I haven't heard that one yet. So the applicant originally proposed to have one large unit on the second and third floor, which they would reside in. And the entrance would actually be from the first floor where they were proposing 3 additional bedrooms. So as through a conversation with the Codes Bureau, there was concerns with the number of bedrooms. They're proposing 13. That was a bit concerning where down the line, if they sold it, potentially could be a rooming house, would be difficult to use it as a single family dwelling. So part of condition 2 is to limit those number of bedrooms and reconfigure that first floor space for that upper unit to be used for something other than bedrooms, whether it be in the other units or for another function other than bedrooms, if that makes sense. So condition 3, the applicant will coordinate with the Department of Public Works to conform the appropriate size and location of refuse collection on site and update the billing accounts to reflect the new use. So the Planning Commission recommended approval for the following reasons. The variance for the density regulations would represent the minimum necessary to afford relief, given the lot area is 5,711 square feet. A minor deviation of 289 square feet from the zoning code regulations is necessary to permit the proposed use. Reason 2, the proposal would not be out of character with the surrounding neighborhood as other multifamily dwellings exist along North 3rd Street. Reason 3, the proposed project would reactivate a long vacant structure and provide an overall benefit to the surrounding community by increasing housing options and further supporting a customer base for nearby local businesses.
Thank you. I want to take a quick recess. I have a quick question. Okay, if the applicant could please give us your full name and address, and then I'll swear you in to the.
Dolores Negron, 1607 Foster Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
And if you could both raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Are we? I know I can see where the 4 units are. Are we doing both a 4-unit and a church from what I'm seeing in the design here? And maybe this is a question for Jacob as well.
So the application is to have 4 total units in this building. I know this building is very unique. If you're looking at it from North 3rd Street, it looks like almost 2 houses, which is kind of consistent with that block.
Right.
So that's part of the building. And then actually on the back, there's sort of a newer addition along McClay Street. I'm sorry, along the side, along McClay Street. And these are all, it's all just one structure. It's total 9,000 square feet. It's not really divided out in different uses or anything like that.
But I see in the proposal for each ones that it says church area. Can you expand on that? Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you have the. So I do, first floor, it says first floor, page 1.
Right.
On the new, that would be the church area. It used to be No. Oh, you got the old one or the new one? You got the new one. Talking about the.
I don't know what I have. I'm on.
You're looking at the old blue, the old layout. The proposed new layout, it's drawn out on a square little.
I don't know if it didn't scan well.
That's what I drew out for you. I'm on page 1. I think you have it, right?
Let me just ask one thing, Jacob, the packet in looking at what was then provided, and it had like 9 pages to the plans. If you look at that, it's like the first 3, the old, and then starting with page 4, and Mr. Chairman, if you turn to 4, is that then the new?
So the one that has the church area, the applicant indicated to me that that is basically existing floor plan. Even though you don't see a church area in there anymore, I'm assuming that's what that was used for back when it was part of the funeral home.
That's the old.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That might be where my confusion. I'm on this page. Okay. I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Phipps now. Now that I'm caught up, my confusion is less. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for coming in this evening. The building, and I'm looking at it. Currently, it's got 4 or 3 gas meters in it. Is it already an apartment there? Is that building, maybe this goes to you, Jake. That building has 3 active gas feeds on it. Okay, yes, so that's 1 for each floor. It's already laid in. Yes.
Those meters, we were gonna install them, and then they told us it's one commercial, only 2 residential. Nothing is connected. The meters are there waiting.
Okay, I'm just a nosy Parker, so I don't know, look at the building. Okay.
We're gonna ask for 1 more, if we get approval, ask for UGI for 1 more meter, so we can continue working there.
So your request, you said the first floor, in order to come within the limit of 10 bedrooms. So the first floor will have no bedrooms, but it still is, yes, ma'am. No. Okay.
That's the second and third floor that they were questioning, because the place is so big.
Yes.
It was all bedrooms. So
Okay.
what we decided to do is, like, on the first floor in the middle of the building, they're questioning that because that's on the first floor. We're gonna make that just storage room for us, but we got a lot of stuff we gotta store. And then upstairs, we're gonna eliminate the bedroom in the kitchen area. We're gonna make it a bigger kitchen. And then where the pool, where the billiard room, we're gonna make a little entertainment room. We're gonna eliminate that bedroom, which is all on this drawing, and we'll make just everything bigger.
As the question said, in the first floor in the front is gonna be 2 apartments in front. It's 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, and then in the back is gonna be a 3-bedroom apartment. And then in the middle, that's gonna be for upstairs.
It's gonna be part of our apartment, which we're taking the whole second and third floor.
And you have separate entrances? for this?
Yes, everybody has their own entrance.
Right, that's the 2100 and 2102. It looks big, okay. Yes.
We got 1,
I know this
2,
building.
3, there's
Okay.
literally 4 entrances.
Okay.
For everybody to go in, and nobody will be bothering anybody.
My second question is going to be for the parking, okay? Yeah, when I saw that building, I saw a garage there. Okay, that's off-street parking, but if I remember how Third Street's laid out and how McClay Street's laid out, there's very limited on-street parking because of the bump outs on either side.
A lot of Third Street is already I think, Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not sure if you know, I don't think there's a single family home left on that block of Third Street.
Okay.
Right.
Now, right there on the corner, Third and McClay, that area in front of my house is always empty. I mean, it's been empty ever since we purchased the property a long time. It's always empty. There's a bump out there.
Yeah, there's a bump
But
out,
there's still,
there's
yeah,
one block.
They just did it, I don't know, about 2 years ago. It's always empty, so you can fit 2 cars here, 2 cars comfortably, and then the garage fits 2 cars.
There might be two vacant
It's 6 cars.
buildings there too. One building has the whole side blown out from a collapse too. Sure. What's going on there either. Yeah, a couple doors
There's a
down.
couple of buildings down there.
So if there's parking on Third Street, McClay Street, I think it's problematic. You can't park in front of the garage if it's gonna be functional, and there's no available spot down to Susquehanna Street. That's, you
Well,
know,
then there's no parking there. But in front of the building, nobody ever parks there. Maybe they
You
figured.
can fit like, on one side, 3 cars, and the other side is like,
Do you have
3 cars
pictures
too.
of I can show you whatever. This is the whole front. You see from the garage to McClay, it's always empty. You said you live around there, you probably noticed it's always empty. I mean, since we bought the property, it's illegal parking area there. From the garage to McClay, it's always empty. Nobody ever parks there.
and since this is a requirement for 4 units, how many parking spots must they have?
So the project in total requires 5 off-street parking spaces, 1 per unit, and then the 1 for the guest spot. So the property has the 2 off-street parking spots in the basement garage. So the request is for 3 spaces total for relief.
McClay area for the bump out going back to this property is always empty too. I mean, that's the, the area of the house. It's usually always empty. It's been empty ever
Bus.
since we got the property.
That's,
And I would note at that intersection of McClay and Third, I know there's the Rite Aid, there's a few other uses there. They do have off-street parking lots for those commercial uses aren't using the on-street parking. So that may alleviate some of the additional demand, which was part of, at least in our recommendation, why we recommended approval on that.
okay, there's a business right across, I think it's not functional anymore.
Yeah, I forgot about that area.
Okay.
Right.
Parking.
It's all empty all the time.
Okay.
Plenty of parking.
Are you using the 2 off-street parking as off-street parking, the 2 in the basement? Is that gonna be for,
The basement?
yeah, is that gonna
Yeah,
be
I'll
for
put out-
parking?
I'll put out videos.
Okay.
My daughter's be at one.
Well, thank you. That's my question.
Mr. Hobbs?
Just, I was looking through the layout that you drew for us, so for the 3 apartments, what are the sizes of those apartments?
Okay. Yeah. Let's go to the first. Okay. The rear apartment, it's a 3-bedroom. It totals 1,178 square feet. The ones in the front, the 2 in the front. One is gonna be 608 square feet, that's the 1-bedroom. And the other one is gonna be 561 square feet, which is the adjoining one.
Those are 2
Those are the 2.
bedroom apartments.
Right, those are 2 1-bedroom apartments, yes. Those are the ones in the front. And the one in the rear is a 3-bedroom, which is the 1,100.
Okay, I'm good. And then
And then the top
ups is all, is gonna
and
be
the top is 100 square feet, over thousands. So we got a lot of room there.
I see how it's laid out.
It's enormous building.
Just curious, what do you see as being the rental rates for the 3 apartments on the first one?
The rent,
Yes.
the one in the rear, maybe a little over 1,000. And the ones in the front, almost 1,000. Maybe about 800. That's water and trash included. They're gonna have to pay their own utilities. So we're gonna be responsible for paying the trash and the water. And that's already a big bill. as it is.
Those are all the questions I have.
How long ago did you purchase the property?
12 years.
It's like ended.
Two 2003. That's when it was purchased. That's the deed. It says.
And what is that company that,
That's a lawyer that we have in Brooklyn. In the beginning, we were doing it together, but when he seen that, it was like the rent was so little, and this guy has, houses in Manhattan and all that. He's a big lawyer, and he told me, just buy me out. So I bought him out and I paid him mortgage down. I did a purchase agreement with him and I paid a mortgage.
but that company that's on that deed, you don't have any interest in that company at all?
Yeah, I'm in it because that's my friend, we did it together, the company. We bought the house together. So now I'm gonna pay him just to get him out of the way. He's gonna put the deed under my name. So we decided, actually, those letters are the initials of his kids, the first initial of his kids.
But that's what I mean. That's that lawyer's LLC, right? That's the lawyer's LLC.
Well, I'm included with it because I
Is
got
there anything?
that's how he wrote it out.
But we need something to show some type of interest,
Yeah,
Do you have your purchase agreement?
I think the purchase agreement has it.
I don't doubt it. I'm just.
Yeah, the purchase agreement has it.
We need it for the record.
It
I just wanted
stipulates.
to-
I have the
Yeah, I'm part
purchase
of the
agreement
LLC.
here. Apologies if that wasn't in the packet. I can bring that forward to you.
Hold on, let me just.
We had that as.
Yep.
Yeah.
We add that as
Yeah, the purchase.
B11, okay?
Okay.
And then we can make. a copy. Okay.
But you'll have the process clear out.
Yep, all right. Then I'm going to mark that the purchase and sale agreement. Is the purchasers would be Jimmy Negron and Dolores Negron. So, and it specifically does refer to that. To that property, so this covers it. And that'll be B11. Jacob, could I just? Yep. Okay.
That's a big building. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this property? And this property is 2100 North 3rd Street. Nope. Okay. Jacob, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing else to add.
Neil, anything from the city?
Everything else. Arts grant.
You guys need to- After hearing all the evidence, I'm going to make a motion to approve with the conditions set forth by the planning commission resolution to approve. I have a second. Seconded by Mr. Hobbs. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And with that, I think that was our last thing on the agenda, and I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Phipps. All in favor? Aye. We're over.